So before we discuss how to teach Gemara, how to teach Mishnayos, Halacha, Tanakh, how to even inspire in davening, we should discuss what Chinuch is. First and foremost, what Chinuch is. And one would be surprised to know that it's not education. There are many words for education: limud, hayra, pedagogia. Chinuch is something else. Chinuch is education, but much higher than education. It's the same root word as Chanukah Samizbeach, which is why we have the holiday of Chanukah. Dedication. We're dedicating a child the same way that Chana dedicated her child to Hashem's service throughout life, and we had one of the greatest leaders, Shmuel Hanavi, who was responsible for the first two Jewish kings, or for the first two Jewish kings realizing a lot of their potential, one of them basically all of their potential. So too, we have the idea of chinuch by each and every one of us. In fact, each and every one of us reads the Haftarah of Chana on Rosh Hashanah because it's such an integral part of our mission. This is the purpose of life, is to continue on other generations, other people who are serving Hashem. How do you go about chinuch? How do you go about inspiring and helping the next generation, the growing generation, we should say, to serve Hashem? You do it through being meticulous, caring, and realizing where each one is holding and how much you can lead them. You're not going to, and there's sikha after sikha, that you're not going to achieve anything in this generation going in a strict way. But at the same time, there has to be a lot of valuing things, what's going to inspire them. And it's not all about the blanket knowledge. It's not about writing something on a test. First of all, when you're teaching Tanakh, or when you're teaching Gemara, when you're teaching Tanakh, sometimes you see something and you have a question. What is fair? What is right? And you look in the Mefarshim and you see that everything is very clear. There are some characters in there that are mentioned as such, but when you're talking about the righteous people, their actions were righteous. And when you look at the Mefarshim, if you look at everything that Chazal said that goes together with Tanakh, you see it. And Tanakh doesn't cover anything up. If somebody was not good, it says it very clearly. You also have people who at a point had fallen and then they come back and do stuff. You have Rechavam, you have Menashe, you have such people. And we'll go into specifics, Be'ezus Hashem, in a separate video on how to teach Tanakh. You also have in Gemara. The whole point of learning Hashem's Torah is that it has to be learned. And a person might have a question. For example, in Mamanus, if a person wants to become, it says, if a person wants to achieve Chachma, they should learn Mamanus. So when you're learning the Ilchus of Mamanus, you find that so-and-so says this, the other person says that, and the law is as it states. And you have to think 1 second, if I was trying to be a fair judge, I might, on first thought, come up with something different. So when you're teaching and then you think about it, by the way, for 5 minutes, and you realize, no, I would have decided wrong. I see now clearly why. And it's because Hashem is smarter than us. The Chachamim also were smarter than us. And therefore, it takes 5 minutes of thought, and then you have a clear picture, and you realize what is correct and what is the righteous thing to do in a certain case. But you have to teach it accordingly. When you're teaching Gemara, I had a whole question. There was there's letters from the Rebbe that you're supposed to start out with Haminiach or Mafkid, and this is how everyone who advanced in Talmud, or a lot of people advanced in Talmud, also had the Seder. And I was talking with somebody, and there were many reasons for that. They're pure mamanus, as opposed to where Elu Metzius might go into other things as well in a bigger way than these two prakim. However, there's one point that they made. While Elu Metzius talks about Lifnim Mishros Adin, it does at a certain point. But when you're teaching the Gemara in Hameniach, if you're teaching in Hamafkid, anything comes up, you have to explain to students the principles of Lifnim Mishros Adin, of what people are supposed to do. But at the same time, if Bezdin is asked for a strict halachic ruling, they have to know what the halacha is. Even to compromise, you have to know first what the halacha is. And you teach that to the students. You don't shy away from that. You present the picture the same way that you would explain this to an adult who doesn't know Gemara. And it would be a prerequisite of anyone teaching an adult Gemara to explain that the same way you have to explain this to a child. Is the child going to understand? If they understand Gemara, they'll understand this, and they need to understand that part. It's all about chinuch. What you want to do is you want to raise people with yirah shamayim, with fear of heaven, people with honesty, and you want to, and just proper people going on a straight path in all things. That's the purpose of chinuch. So chinuch is much more than education. It's about dedicating someone to the service of Hashem, to a lifelong service of doing things that are right and beneficial and good. And also to internalize things, that their joy and their pleasure should be in connecting with Hashem, in the spiritual, and in doing good things in the world, and doing things of purpose in the physical world. And that is the central point from which all else seems to start when it comes to chinuch, or what they call, perhaps mistakenly, Torah education, whereas it should be called Torah dedication.